Hey everyone, this is Stephen Strong at Cast Iron Cookware, where you can find information to help you better collect, restore, and use cast iron cookware. Today we're going to be doing episode 7 of Cast Iron Cookware Answers. The topic of today is going to be what is the best way to restore cast iron cookware, and we're going to be doing that coming right up. Okay, like I said earlier, the topic of today is going to be what is the best way to restore cast iron cookware. And we're going to be covering 3 individual questions. One is what is the best way to strip my cast iron cookware? 2, what is the best way to season my cast iron cookware? And what is the best way to maintain my cast iron cookware? So number 1, what is the best way to strip cast iron cookware? Now, I have heard so many people with so many different ways to do it, but there's only a couple acceptable, safe ways to strip cast iron cookware. I know that there are so many people endorsing different methods of cleaning. Some will say, why don't you just throw it in the fire? Or why don't you use the self-cleaning oven system? Or why not use sandpaper or wire wheels or the mechanical ways to clean cast iron? They're so much faster and so much easier. Well, easier and faster does not mean better and safer. I can say this, I do not endorse using fire or the oven cleaning cycle or any kind of power tools to clean cast iron cookware. Number 1, you stand a chance of destroying your precious pieces of cast iron. Now, if you have a piece that has been passed down from your great-grandmother to your grandmother to your mother to you, then you don't want to take a chance with it. And if you plan on passing your pieces down to your kids and their kids, then you don't want to do it either. There are to date only 2 widely acceptable methods to clean cast iron amongst the cast iron community. Number 1 is the use of electrolysis, and number 2 is the use of lye. Now, the electrolysis method in number 1 is basically you're doing a reverse electrolysis or a reverse electroplating of your cast iron. And that basically entails a tank full of an electrolyte solution that has sacrificial anodes on the outer ring that are connected together, and you'll use a manual battery charger to power the process. The electrolyte most people use is superwashing soda. And the power method is usually a manual battery charger. An automatic will not work. I've seen people use everything from a 2 amp battery charger all the way up to 60 amps. They all work just fine. The 60 amp will go a little faster, but I've seen many people use the 2 amps and they work great. So basically you'll hook the positive lead onto the outside on the sacrificial anodes, and you'll use the negative lead on your cast iron. You will dunk it down into your electrolyte, and the electrical process will cause the plating of the old seasoning to little by little come off. Electrolysis will take care of the old seasoning and also rust. Now, it may take an hour or 2, it may take 3 or 4 hours depending on how bad, but electrolysis is a safe method for today, and a lot of collectors out there use that method. Now, it does involve a little bit of engineering, and if you're interested in doing that, I would suggest to check out the Electrolysis Tank Builders group on Facebook. It is a great group. I will leave a link to that group in the video description below, so check it out. There's a lot to learn about electrolysis, and it is a very viable method. So number 2, the lye method. Now, I know what you're thinking. Lye is a bad chemical, and if you use it the wrong way, you're going to get hurt. Well, chemicals are really interesting. You can use chemicals in a good way, and they are really awesome. You can use chemicals in a bad way, and you got problems. Take water, for instance. Water is a chemical. As long as you use it to drink and take a shower, water's good, but you don't need to be breathing it. That's using a chemical the wrong way. I look at lye the same way. Lye is a chemical, and if you use it correctly, it is a great tool. Lye has been used in industrial food services for many, many years, and is still used today. And then once you're done, you can dilute it down with water to the point where it does not have any activity at all, so you're safe. A lye tank basically is this. You can use a foot tub, or I've even seen people use a 5-gallon bucket. You fill it about 70 or 80% full of water. you pour your lye, and make sure that you always use 100% lye. Don't get 99% lye and 1% something else, because you don't really know what the something else is. Pour your water in your tank, put a pound of 100% lye in your tank, and then you just submerge your cast iron in there for 2 or 3 days. Now, lye is a chemical that has a reaction that is directly related to the temperature. So if you're in cold temperature, it's going to take longer. Now, if you have really cold temperatures, your lye will go dormant and not work at all. So time and temperature are the two factors. The warmer it is, the less time it's going to take. The cooler it is, the more time it's going to take. You just want to make sure that you use rubber gloves and precautions. Make sure that you wear some safety glasses just in case you get splashed. Also use a spray bottle of a vinegar water solution. Just keep it handy, so if you get some on your skin, you can spritz it down and it'll neutralize the lye and you won't have an issue. But I know people who have very large lye tanks that may have 20 and 30 gallons, and they will put a lot of pieces of cast iron in there, and it takes 3 or 4 days while it eats away at the old seasoning. Now, lye will not remove rust. It will only move organics. So if you would like to remove rust after you went through the lye process, you can use a vinegar water solution. I have a video on that subject, and I'll leave a card right here if you want to check it out, of how to use vinegar water solution to remove rust. Basically what you do, you can submerge it in a 50-50 water solution, or you can spray it down with your spray bottle of 50-50 vinegar solution. What I will say is don't go over 30 minutes of a soak. After 30 minutes, you remove your cast iron, you rinse it down really well, give it a good scrubbing and rinse, and then if all your rust is gone, start the seasoning process. If you still have some residual rust, spray it or dunk it for another 5 or 10 minutes. Remove it, give it a good scrub. If you still have rust, repeat that process again until you're rust free. Then you can start the seasoning process. So that's basically the only two widely accepted methods of stripping cast iron, the electrolysis method and also the lye method. Now, I have seen people use Evaporust to remove the rust, and I've seen a lot of good things. Now, Evaporust is a little bit expensive, especially compared to vinegar, but you can use it over and over again. So if you do want to try the Evaporust, I haven't done it myself, but I have looked into it. I have went on the Evaporust website, and they say it is safe to use on cast iron cookware. So that's another method to remove rust, but it will not remove old seasoning. So that covers our stripping our cast iron. Now let's move on to seasoning. Now, seasoning is another thing that really gets people into some arguments, because they say, well, my great-grandmother, she used lard and her cast iron was beautiful. I don't disagree whatsoever. I imagine it was beautiful. And using lard in the old days was probably the only thing they had. They didn't have access to grapeseed oil and some of these other oils that we have access to today. What happens when a piece of cast iron is seasoned is you have a layer of oil or fat of some kind that once it reaches the smoke point, it breaks down. And the part that you don't want basically just smokes away. And what is left is the polymer, or the polymerization process takes place, and you have a hard, thin surface that is left behind. That makes it where it's non-stick and also makes it where it's resistant to moisture. The more layers that you put on one, the more resistant and more non-stick it gets. Now let's talk about oils. Every different oil has a different smoke point. Some oils like canola oil have a low smoke point, where grapeseed oil and avocado oil have very high smoke points. In order to cause that polymerization process to take place, you have to raise the temperature up past the smoke point. I'm particularly fond of grapeseed oil because it has a smoke point of about 420 degrees, give or take, and it's a higher temperature before it reaches the smoke point, which I believe in turn causes the polymer layer to be much harder. So grapeseed is my personal favorite standalone oil. I'm not saying that some of the other oils won't work. Now, I have done a lot of testing. Some oils don't work as good as others. Now, there's a lot of blends out there. You have blends that have a base of beeswax, and they have different kind of oils in them. I've tried a lot of them, and a lot of them are really good products. Me personally, I've done a lot of testing, and my personal favorite is the Easy Beasy Cast Iron Seasoning. I developed this product myself. It is a base of beeswax, grapeseed oil, and avocado oil. Now those are a little bit on the expensive side when it comes to oils. Now I've got this handy little tube that I keep mine stored in, and it looks really nice on the countertop. And in my blend I have beeswax for the base, grapeseed oil, and avocado oil. Now those are both kind of expensive oils, but they work the best. I've done a lot of testing, comparing different kinds of oils and different kinds of blends. And the grapeseed oil, hands down, was always the winner. And the avocado oil always came in at an indistinguishable close second. Now I have tested this and I worked on getting my blend dialed in, and I've got it dialed in to where it's just perfect. So if you want to give it a try, check out Easy Beasy Cast Iron Seasoning. You can find it at my website, CICookware.com. I will leave a link to it in the video description below. Check it out. The purchase of that product does help keep this channel going, and I do want to say I appreciate it so much. So going back to the seasoning process, there are steps involved to get a good seasoning. Now a lot of people say, I can't stand all the smoke, it's just so much trouble. There is keys to cutting down the smoke. What you do first is you take your cast iron cookware, you put it in the oven, you let it get warm. You get it up to about 200 degrees. You apply whatever oil or product that you're using onto the cast iron cookware. Then you go back, you wipe it down as much as you possibly can. I really want to get this phrase out there, less is best. Now, you don't want to put too much oil on there because it will get all splotchy. It won't season well. You want the thinnest layer you can possibly get. Now, the process is going to take 3 or 4 layers to get it really nice. So you'll wipe off as much as you possibly can. You'll put it back in the oven. A lot of people will go ahead and heat their oven up to 300 degrees, take their cast iron back out, wipe it down again. Like I said, less is best. Put it back in the oven, ramp the temperature up to whatever their smoke point is, plus a little more. With my Easy Beasy Cast Iron Seasoning, the recommended temperature is somewhere between 480 to 500 degrees Fahrenheit. And you leave it at that temperature for 1 hour. Cut your oven off and let it cool back down to a level you can handle it again. Repeat that 2 more times and you'll have a piece of cast iron that is beautiful. Cleaning and touch-ups. Now I have this little small block logo with the grooved handle, Griswold right here. And you can see it probably could use another layer or 2. It hasn't been used probably in a while, and it just needs a little bit of touching up. What I will do is I will take this piece, I will carry it to the sink, I will wash it with dish soap, I will scrub it really well, I will get it dry, put it in the oven, get it up to 200 degrees. Basically put all your seasoning on there, wipe it down as much as possible, crank it up to 300, take it out again, wipe it down as much as I can again, crank it back up to 500 for an hour. This in here will have a new coat of seasoning, and this skillet, and it will perform wonderful. Now I will say this, when you have a piece of cast iron, well like I do, I've got a wall full of cast iron that I don't get to use very often. Honestly, I'm not going to be able to use them all. So they're going to be hanging on the wall for quite a while. Now, if there's old oil on those pieces, that oil will get rancid. And it will get sticky, it will get gummy, and it'll start smelling bad. In that case, you need to go and scrub it down really good with soap and water, wipe it down with a towel, put it in the oven, let it get warm, and repeat the process that I mentioned earlier. It's better to put that piece back up on the wall dry without adding another coat of oil. There are products out there that has a beeswax base, just like my Easy Beasy Cast Iron Seasoning. It will handle being stored for a lot longer without going rancid and getting sticky and tacky. That's one thing that I really like about the beeswax based products. So I hope this video went quick enough for you, and I hope that you've enjoyed it. And if you have, please don't forget to subscribe, hit the notification bell, and I promise I'll keep more of them coming. You can also follow Cast Iron Cookware on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Check out the Facebook group Cast Iron Cookware. It is a great group full of people who love cast iron and just love to share and be a part of a group. You can also sign up to receive emails from Cast Iron Cookware. I send out about once a month. I'll leave a link to that in the video description below, along with the other sites that I mentioned earlier. And I just want to say thank you again for watching Cast Iron Cookware. Before you go, I just want to share something with you really quick. In Philippians chapter 4, verse 6 and 7, it says, "Rejoice in the Lord always, and again I say rejoice. Be careful for nothing, but in everything, by prayer and supplication, with thanksgiving, let your requests be made known to God. And the peace of God, which passes all understanding, shall keep your hearts and minds through Christ Jesus." I just want to say, share the word and be a blessing.